So we wanted to hear what life is currently like in Wuhan, the Chinese city at the very heart of the coronavirus crisis, from an international student studying there, considering the sensitive situation in China right now, and as he's close to finishing his PhD at a university in Wuhan, we'd rather not jeopardize his safety or studies by revealing his full identity or showing his face. M, as I'll be referring to him, has lived in Wuhan for the past 3 years or so. His school has also warned international students about giving such interviews, so we are treating this as sensitively as possible as we want to protect his identity. So we're joined live by M, a student still living in Wuhan. M, thanks for joining us. Firstly, how are you feeling? Is your health okay?
Good morning, Mark. Thank you very much. I'm very healthy and safe, but restricted to my room. So I'll say for now, I am very okay physically, but mentally, maybe I'm not that okay because of the emotional stress that comes with being restricted to your room.
Yeah, it must be very tough indeed, but we're glad to hear that you're physically okay. We've all been seeing pictures and video of Wuhan looking like a ghost town, a city on lockdown, which of course it is. What have you been doing to pass the time? And generally, what's the atmosphere like in the city?
So generally, the city, as you said, is like a ghost city now, unlike the Wuhan we know, which is very vibrant. Nobody is outside because we're all afraid. Despite even the lockdown, we are afraid of being infected when we go out. So we are all in our rooms. I am basically in my room sleeping and sometimes chatting with my friends through WeChat and also monitoring international media. So basically that is it. We can't study, we can't do anything. We don't have the mental strength to study.
Are you allowed to leave the house then, even for a brief period of time, if you need to get the basic necessities, food, water, toiletries, etc.?
Yeah, we are allowed to do so, but then you need to tell authorities what you're going to do. They have to query you. So you only go out when it is necessary. And when you're going out, you have to show your ID and they screen you. And when you are coming in also, they screen you. So that is the only way we are allowed to go out. But even when you're walking around the campus, the security people ask you why you are outside. You're supposed to be in your room. So that is basically the life in Wuhan. And I've been outside on 2 occasions to buy basic necessities. But when you go outside, you see no cars or no motorbikes. The streets are empty and the supermarkets are also basically empty. But that is beginning to change right now. It's beginning to change right now as the people are now coming out. I think it's going to be difficult to enforce the restrictions from now onwards.
Yeah, it's tough to force people to stay indoors for days or weeks on end, and it must be eerie to live in a city which has a population roughly the size of New York that's basically empty. But prior to the city being put on lockdown, did people in Wuhan suspect something odd was happening? Did you see people steadily getting sick? Because at least to the outside world, this lockdown seemed to come out of the blue.
Okay, Mark. So basically, somewhere in September, there was an outbreak of pneumonia, but we were told it's just one of those things because we are transitioning into the winter starting from November. So that was just by the passing. And then in November, there was a major pneumonia outbreak. That is when people actually became aware that there was an outbreak of an epidemic in Wuhan. But then also the thing was concealed. So around the Christmas time, that was 24, 25, 26, it became very difficult because now people were aware that there was an epidemic. So we started moving only with people we trusted, even when we are taking taxis. Then from 1st, 2nd January, that was when the news started getting weight that there was indeed an epidemic, but we didn't know it was that deadly.
Now, while we're on the talking about whether we can trust what the Chinese government is telling us. There has been talk that the actual numbers of confirmed cases of coronavirus is actually much higher than the Chinese authorities are letting on. From your own experience, do you think that actually might be the case?
So, Mark, generally the agreement or the consensus in Wuhan is that the numbers are far being underreported. And that is the reason why, especially we, the international students, are quite more getting hopeless and worried, because we know the case is worse than is being reported. Yeah, and we have some of our people who are medical students, and they have professors who are medical doctors and working at the front line. So sometimes they tell them their challenges they are facing, that there are people who even die of the coronavirus, but they are told to say the person had an existing health condition like diabetes or hypertension or TB. So that was what really killed the person. So there's even this reported allegation, let me use the word allegation, that some of the doctors were saying if the politicians or the communist leaders are now the people assigning the cause of death, then they might as well also get into the treatment rooms to treat the people. So we know the cases of infection are quite higher because there are more hospitals in Wuhan and they are overwhelmed. There are more than 10 hospitals, you can confirm. They are overwhelmed and they have bedding capacity of more than 10,000, but 2 new hospitals needed to be built. So this should tell us the gravity or the intensity of the epidemic or the outbreak. So those of us in Wuhan, we know the death rate and the incidence rate are quite higher than is being reported.
And finally, I'd just like to ask you 2 questions in one, because unfortunately we are running out of time. You are from an African country, won't say which one. Are there any plans by your country to evacuate you? And what about your family at home? They must be dreadfully concerned. Have you been able to stay in touch with them?
Yeah, so Mark, I would like to start with my family. So my family, indeed, they are really concerned. They are worried, and my grandmother's BP is even going high because of the situation here. And this reflects the situation of other families with their relatives here. So I've been in touch with our embassy, and our embassy has categorically said that there are no plans to evacuate us because they don't want to offend the Chinese authorities. Because the Chinese authorities have told them they are in control. They are able to deal or manage the situation. So we should just stay put and adhere to the preventive measures. So at the moment, there are no plans to evacuate us, even though we want to go home.
Okay, well, it must be awful. That's where we're going to have to leave it, though, unfortunately. Thanks for agreeing to share your story. We know it isn't easy to do so in China, especially at this time. We'll stay in touch. Stay healthy, please, and hopefully you'll get to go home safe and sound. Thank you very much. That was a PhD student still stuck in Wuhan, the lockdown epicenter of the coronavirus. Stay healthy.
Thank you, Mark.